I told you guys last week that Kyle Larson's NASCAR return is almost certainly imminent, and it looks like that this week is going to be the week that NASCAR not only reinstates Kyle Larson, but more likely than not, Kyle Larson will announce his 2021 racing seat, heavily rumored right now to be the 48 car at Hendrick Motorsports. But why this week? Well, Kyle Larson had something to say on his website, and the immediate reaction is the thing that is pointing me, or at least pointing all signs, towards Kyle Larson and NASCAR getting back together this week. It all kicked off last night, just after the controversial race at Talladega Superspeedway, when Kyle Larson published an essay that he personally wrote on his personal website. The essay itself was a documentation of everything that had happened since his N-word bomb on that esports event Monza Madness way back in April, and everything he has done to try to make amends for it, and hopefully future plans to make amends for it as things go forward. Now, this spread quickly in the NASCAR media, and it was endorsed pretty quickly as well by Bubba Wallace. This morning, NASCAR posted it to their own website, the first public acknowledgement of Kyle Larson since they suspended him. Now, again, all signs seem to be pointing towards a Kyle Larson reinstatement. And make no mistake, none of this is haphazard. None of this happened by random. This was carefully planned. All of this was carefully planned. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm being super cynical about this. I'm just telling you the truth. And certainly I don't think you should be cynical about it. In fact, I've got the article linked down in the description below, and I highly suggest you read it because Kyle is incredibly insightful, incredibly self-reflective, and honestly, you learn a lot from it. I actually have a few passages that I'm going to read in this video and talk about them because I actually found them so insightful that I think it's worth repeating and kind of analyzing them a little bit. But the fact that Kyle Larson drops this on Monday, or at least it was originally scheduled for Monday. Ironically, when it was posted, it said October 5th rather than actually October 4th when it was posted. The fact that this spread in the NASCAR media so fast, clearly somebody got a tip, or several people got tips. Can you say NDA? And then the fact that NASCAR this morning, when it seems the article was originally supposed to be posted, acknowledged this, acknowledged Kyle Larson, acknowledged that he has published this and is publicly talking about him, publicly associating with him again. I mean, do I have to spell it out for you? Also, the fact that the Bubba Wallace, who, let's be honest, spoke very strongly out against Kyle Larson when this began, and I know that Kyle and Bubba are friends, and in fact, again, one of the things that is mentioned in this essay is that Kyle Larson specifically seeked Bubba Wallace's help out during, or at least to kind of understand why what he did was wrong. So, the other couple of points in this essay certainly confirm a lot of the things that we've heard before. Reporting by Adam Stern and several others about what Kyle Larson has been doing to try to make amends and try to get back on track and into NASCAR. Certainly the volunteer work in Minnesota we've heard quite a bit about. He also mentioned that he's done some volunteer work in St. Louis, which I don't think has been widely reported. I'm not saying it hasn't been reported, but that's the first time I had personally heard about it. We heard mention of or he specifically mentioned the Urban Racing School, and one of the things that more recently, and actually it spurred on the video I just made, was the connections at the Urban Racing School not only to NASCAR, but also to Chevrolet. The rumor, again, is pointing to Kyle Larson going to the 48 car, and certainly he's going to need Chevrolet's blessing to do that. Apparently all three of those parties were in a meeting at some point at the Urban Racing School a couple of weeks ago, so that certainly points to Kyle Larson, or the fact that NASCAR and Chevrolet have seen what they need to see. And in the essay itself, there's a scene that Kyle Larson writes about that he had to give a personal apology to one of the kids at the school that he had worked with, who had cheered for him, who had been in victory lane with him when he'd won a race. That one definitely tough to read, and you can imagine a lot of this is just, the whole essay is pretty much Kyle Larson and a series of just apologies and kind of realizing the hurt that he caused a lot of people by saying that word who had looked up to him previously, and hopefully will continue to look up to him in the future. The final thing we really learned in terms of future employment opportunities for Kyle Larson is the fact that despite there being some confusion apparently about whether or not he actually had a desire to race in NASCAR again, he specifically states it in this essay. And I want to read that passage specifically just so we can hear Kyle Larson's words and you don't have to take my word for it. NASCAR has a zero tolerance policy on this type of behavior. Of course, Larson's talking about the N-word. When they suspended me, I received a plan that started with mandatory sensitivity training and went from there. I'm in regular contact with them, and I've learned to grow as I've gone through the program. I hope to race in NASCAR again. And I said this in the previous video, it's no secret. I think that, especially after reading this essay, and certainly the fact that NASCAR acknowledged it, I think points to this. I think if NASCAR is really serious about inclusivity, and that includes diversity, I think they absolutely should allow people back in who have made mistakes and atone for them. They've certainly done it in the past, and certainly Kyle Larson, again, I've said this before, there have been examples in the past of drivers dropping the N-word and being reinstated in NASCAR. So he wouldn't be the first. He's probably not going to be the last, unfortunately. But Kyle Larson he dropped his N-bomb at probably the worst time he possibly could have, like I said before. The entire eyes of the sports world were on him. Incredible racial tensions in the country. That was just a complete firebrand for Kyle Larson to drop it then. However, at the same time, it may be a blessing in disguise, because in a lot of ways I think that because Kyle Larson faced this intense heat, that he is become a better person because of it. It certainly reads that way in this essay. And I think for NASCAR to reinstate him, with him doing all that he has done and appears to be set to continue to do, I think that sets a good precedent across the board. And I think that's the kind of stuff that you want to see from NASCAR, especially if they're going to go down this path that involves so much social justice. You can't really be a social justice warrior if you're not really for everybody. If you're not trying to make sure that everybody is treated fairly, and you can make up for mistakes. You don't want to see a cancel culture. And I'm glad it looks like Kyle Larson is not canceled. The final passage that I want to read real quick is just one that certainly I had seen situations like this in the past. And it talks about why Kyle Larson felt so comfortable using the N-word. Because I remember one of the very first things I said was, man, it sounded like he was comfortable saying that word. Well, we got some insight as to why that was, and I'll talk about why it's, I think, going to resonate with a lot more people than you would think. During the NASCAR offseason, I've sometimes competed overseas. On one of those trips, I was around a group that used the N-word casually, almost like a greeting. Of course, it doesn't matter where this happened or how the word was used or what the people around me did. The fact that the word was said in my presence and I allowed it to happen unchecked. I was ignorant enough to think it was okay, and on the night of the esports event, I used the word similarly to how I'd heard it. As I write this, I realize how ridiculous, horrible, and insensitive it all sounds. So I think this passage in particular is one that a lot of people will be able to relate to. Because I know in my personal life, when I've hung around people, especially sometimes people that I'm not really familiar with, and they say things and it makes you go, ooh, and even, especially when I was younger, I noticed this a lot. I know I did this, was when you would hear something you didn't quite understand, and everybody was saying it so you thought it was cool, only to realize when you've said that thing to the wrong person, how hurtful that possibly could be. So I think a lot of people have that experience, and it's interesting to see Kyle Larson specifically point to that as, why he felt so comfortable saying that word, because he had been in an environment where it had been normalized, and he dropped it in the wrong context. And that to me, I think, is incredibly relatable. And it's just a shame that at the time Larson was ignorant enough to use the word, but I think it shows great maturity to be able to identify where the mistake was made and why, and how to not make that again. So that's just, and again, that's ultimately why I think Larson should be allowed back. I think now's the time. I think he should be welcomed back, to be honest with you. I think he's done an adequate amount of effort here, and I think clearly, again, from reading this, it looks like he's going to continue to strive to be the best man he can be. And from that perspective, I don't think he should have any more career opportunities taken away from him. And it sounds like he's going to get a pretty damn big career opportunity. And quite honestly, I think he's earned it. But let me know what you think down in the comments section below. Let me know. What did you think of this essay? What did you think of this video? What do you think of potentially Kyle Larson coming back to NASCAR? Can't wait to read your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe for more motorsports news and commentary. And I'll see you in the next video.